Hey, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, all two of them.
Hi, guys.
Hey, we're looking in the mirror. It's the Pritch and the Padre, and we'll be here for a few minutes, and we'll be talking about some things, hopefully that will enlighten you, and not necessarily that, but maybe open up some avenues for you to see your life better. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Hey. We just told him not to have that happen, but
No.
he's a professional. He's a professional. Been in show business forever.
This is to wait. Anybody just tuned us in, say, those guys always start off slow, but then they kind of build up into something.
The alarm just went off, folks.
Yeah, I don't
So
care.
wake up. Anyway, all right.
Well, I thought today, because we had that. Remember that old story in the scripture where the lady was caught in adultery, and she came in and she said she was sorry, and they were going to stone her. And Jesus walked in and started writing in the sand. The most interesting part of that for me, that whole story, is it said when people began to realize what they had done, or their own personal faults, failings, sins, whatever you might call them, it says that they began to walk away, and the oldest were the first to leave. So I've given that a lot of thought, because as I get older, I think experience teaches you. You learn a lot from making mistakes. Let's face it.
Sure.
And when you get older and older and older and oldest, you can realize a lot sooner, I think, what's gone wrong. So the oldest walking away first, and it's also a good lesson for the young people today to realize that, if you make a mistake, you do something wrong, you got a chance to recover.
Right.
When you're older, you don't have that same. I don't know what you'd call it. You probably have a word for it. Maybe 20 words for it.
Well, survivability is you want to be able to survive and go on in hopefulness and forgiveness for yourself and others. But at the same time, Mother Teresa, in her wisdom, her line was, if you judge people, you will never have time to learn to love and heal them.
Yeah.
Which is powerful.
Yeah.
Right? And so the people walking away when Jesus said, let he who is without sin, right?
Yeah.
Cast the first stone.
Here's a question for you, my friend.
All right.
What if the hokey pokey was what it really was all about? All right.
No, but I love that.
You know what the hokey pokey
I
is.
do know.
You know what we're all about.
You put your right foot in, you put your right foot out, you do the hokey pokey, and
No,
you
but
shake
you know
yourself
what?
around.
All right. But that says a lot to me.
ADD.
That says a lot too,
Right.
When you're growing up, you think everything is so important that you got to do things this way and this way, and the hokey pokey represents something weird and strange. But what if that's all about? And you suddenly realize that there's a lot more opportunities in your life to get better, to improve,
and to have joy in your life. I remember when my son Connor, I was down in Kentucky working on Leadership Kentucky, and he was about 10 years old, and he came up and he goes, Dad, I just saw all these college baseball players from Kentucky, and he goes, they're like super big guys from the college, and they're like accomplished, and they were singing with the little kids in the pool, doing the hokey pokey and leading the little kids in the pool. And he goes, it was so sweet. He goes, I don't think I'd see that in California, because the older jocks I don't think would play with the little kids. And I said, well, in the Midwest, there's a love and appreciation for kids and community. And if you're playing sports, part of your job as an athlete is to be a leader and to teach the kids to have fun in the pool, laugh together, and be a role model for them of joy.
Yeah.
And sometimes the most powerful gift we give is that leadership that Christ was trying to talk about, like literally, essentially looking people in the eye and saying, who's going to be the first to walk away? Because there is no one without sin, right? There is no one without sin. And we have to accept that a leader is a person who said, look inward instead of looking for somebody to blame. That's what I think the biggest issue is right now, Monsignor. I think we always, like in the recent incident at the Academy Awards, we have to have somebody to blame. Now,
Yeah.
they spent hours while we've got the Ukraine going on, in a real war going on, arguing over which of these wealthy young men from good circumstances, and they're decent young guys, who should we blame first? The man who said a rude remark to the wife, or the guy who exposed everyone in the world to violence because he was angry that his wife was offended? And now everybody's looking for somebody, including everybody's got to have somebody to blame. And I keep saying, how about we fix it? How about we fix it? And that's what I think Christ was saying to everybody. How about we help the woman with her life instead of finding ways to condemn her and you want to throw rocks at her? The internet, you know what I try to tell everybody about my friends who are famous? And I got a bunch of them.
Hey,
Yeah, author, vicar general,
hey, no.
wheel,
Just
graduate.
shut up and just go on. Let's go on.
Anyway, it's respect. So, but what I found is, everybody goes, well, you shouldn't read the comment section. Don't read the comments. I go, I don't have to. Everybody who reads the comment section tells me what they said about me in the comment section. They come to you as if they're the part of the algorithm and logarithm of negativity, bringing it to your doorstep and saying, you know what they said on the internet about you? And you're like, I don't think I want to know. And that's when fame reaches a point on the internet that if you become a popular commentator, a person who does Instagram, Snapchat, if you become that, everybody's got this snarky comment, and some of them are ruthlessly cruel. And when you have that, that is the beginning of throwing stones at the person who might, if you were, like I would tell people, try to be trauma informed, which means that this young woman who made some mistakes in the village she's growing up in might have been very severely wounded in early childhood. And she might have been hurt. And all of a sudden, the village wants to stone her, think now, to death. And Christ...
Well, that was the form of punishment,
right,
though,
yeah.
for adultery or...
Yep. But that said, the person's dead because they didn't know how to deal with their early childhood traumas. And they didn't know how to be appropriate to the circumstances of organized religion or organized community values, right?
Yeah. Now, back to the modern day of this incident that took place on the Academy Awards.
Right.
Because there may be some viewers or listeners who didn't even know that happened.
Right.
Oh, I'm sure they might have heard about
Right.
it. But anyway, for my own personal amazement, the act of violence that was shown by the slap was almost received by, whoa, this is a surprise,
Right.
but no retaliation or no.
No.
So
Because
that was a good... Could you see some good out of that?
Yes, I could, because Chris and Will are both good, kind men. They really are good people. And they're both comedians, and they had been friendly. And what had happened, I believe, was in 2016 when Chris was the MC for the Oscars, he had made a remark, and it was not received well by Will's wife. She wasn't there. She didn't attend. And then this incident was kind of a trigger of anger. And, you know, one of the things I try to tell everybody all the time is figure the triggers inside you for anger management. You have to know that when you lash out with words or violence. I teach kids every day, Monsignor. I tell them, use your words as shields and not as swords to hurt or wound. Use your words to defend other people. And it's because bullying has taken place. Now, everybody had a comment. You know, he would never have done that if it was The Rock, not Chris Rock, but The Rock, who had said big guy. Yeah. But, you know, hurt is hurt. And the line goes that hurt people. And you see it in comedy clubs a lot. And it's one of the reasons I kind of receded from the comedy scene, because of the level of toxic cruelty that you would see at roasts now that are so, you know, some of them.
They're not like the Dean Martin and Johnny Carson.
Yeah, those were fun, silly things. But now
it's all personal, isn't it? I've seen a few. I mean, really personal.
Yes, and it's like an ice pick to the heart at some point. And you see the woundedness, and strangely, in some of those roasts, Father, I see them do close-ups of the face of the victim of the burn, the attack. Mm-hmm. And it's as if, you know, like, because people, they see it and they go, oh, ooh, oh, ooh. And, you know, the point of that is that, you know, Father, over the years of teaching anti-violence and anti-bullying, I try to tell people that words are weapons, acidic and toxic weapons. I don't know how many in 50 years homicide scenes I've reported to where the last line of the young person's life was, "What are you going to do? Shoot me?" Yeah. And that sarcasm makes them lose their life.
It's like a woman who said at her funeral, her husband said, you know, all of her life she complained that her feet were killing her. And he's giving the eulogy. So what are you going to do? You can take it seriously?
No, you have to laugh at that. You know, and my feet are killing me. So,
she died.
She died, you know.
So I got a message from Pritch, and we call this little thing Pritch and the Padre, and the translation on the telephone was, "Hey, Father," you know, like Dad. That's the way it translated Padre.
Dad, hey, Dad.
Yeah, I am not your dad. So we started out here by talking about the hokey pokey, and particularly older people recognizing their faults and failings. So
village life is, you know, and I think we all live in some ways in our neighborhood. It's a village. Yeah. And it's reduced to that, you know, like our parish, St. Vincent's is for sure a small village of good people. And if you realize that what I try to tell people, that, you know, that there's jokes, you know, about gossip and trash talk and people hurting each other's emotions. And you usually don't see on a basis where there's probably close to 1 billion viewers. A man hurt another man, and he saw his wife's eyes, and he stood up and slapped another man out of retaliation for the offense, letting him know what you did to my wife was unacceptable to me. And the entire public was stunned. What was interesting, it's not that folks, I love Hollywood. My kid works in Hollywood. I get it. But all that violence that is put out, and all of a sudden, here's what's interesting. Millions and billions of dollars are made on violence in the movies. But if you noticed that the people in that theater were stunned into silence by actual, real violence in front of them. Mm-hmm. They were quiet. Nobody could quite believe that happened with artists, comedians, producers, directors, actors.
Everybody in the room.
Everybody was stunned into silence. And they asked him to leave, and he said no. He felt justified in what he did. What that teaches and should teach all of us is that words can hurt as much as a slap. Am I wrong?
Mm-hmm. Words can hurt worse because sometimes a slap, then it's over.
Right.
The words go into your mind, in your head, and
right.
And you've had this experience with many young people where
right.
It festers.
Yes.
You know, the words, and the words, instead of going away, and some people, they grow and they build and they get out of shape and they enlarge themselves.
Right.
The same way that this camera enlarges your
right.
who you are. You know, somebody wants to be on TV to see themselves, and that translates into something completely different than who they might be
right.
and who they are. And that's a shame. And, you know, you about 10 minutes ago, you said, we got all this, we got a war going on
right.
in Europe. And this simple slap, an act of violence, completely takes away the headlines.
It consumed the media for a long period of time. Right.
But maybe it's over now. I don't know. I haven't.
Well, I would think that this is what I would suggest to everybody. How about this? Because we did take attention away from a war. How about we get all the kids in Europe and the kids from the Jesuit Volunteer Corps, kids from AmeriCorps, kids from Vista, kids from the Peace Corps, and we all go build Ukraine when this war is over. All of Europe shows up. All you young people come and help us build Ukraine. Bono, and I would like to see Will, and I would like to see Chris Rock there helping to guide us to rebuild a nation where there's suffering from Holocaust survivors. There's children passing away. And what we do is we help volunteer and go to rebuild a peaceful country back to the peace it had. And we decide that we're going to do that as a global community for the sadness that we couldn't do anything about as it was unfolding because of the nature of the nuclear threat. But we go together, we join together and ask all countries to help build Ukraine again as an offering to peace. Make sense?
Yeah. So we didn't say anything about the leader in Russia who, it's hard because, you know, I heard that he's the wealthiest man in the world. Is that true? Did you tell me that? Or?
Yes. It's they've established that he has, through the oligarchs.
Oh, well, we got some. He's got ears all over the place.
Vladimir. They say $100 billion and donated from other oligarchs. But the point of it is, you know, I'm sure right now what we need to know is that there was a line by Richard Belzer, the comedian, very funny guy. and he was on Law and Order, but he was brilliantly funny. He lives in the south of France now. And he said, who could Hitler have become if people had loved his art? And it's a funny, kind of ironic line, but at the same time, what causes a person to be so bitter, to be so angry, so hostile, that they can be indifferent? And that's the line. You can watch preeminent slaughter in Chechnya and in Syria and in now in Ukraine. And the line I love the most is by Elie Wiesel, who survived the concentration. Hate is not the enemy of love. It is yet more indifference, not caring what happens. I don't have to care. And that coldness is something we should all do everything we can to pray for the person who guides others to that. Because as, I don't know if you knew this line, this is my favorite line, and I hope people are listening. Denzel Washington walked up to Will after he had done that, and he's a Jesuit-educated guy from Fordham, and a good man, and a spiritual guy. And he said, when you're at the height of your glory, the devil will come for you.
Oh, yeah, I read that, so.
And so Vladimir Putin is worth $100 billion. He has a place that Navalny has exposed as the most unbelievable palace ever built on the sea, the Black Sea. He has 20 years been the consummate power of Russia, and yet
he's balding.
It's not even that, because they never put Vladimir, don't take offense. They never put marble tops on cheap furniture. But that said, what we need to do is pray for the internals, because he calls himself a Russian Orthodox person. If you believe in God and in Christ and the power of the Spirit, we call on you to look inside Vladimir. Help Vladimir build peace again.
So you even have the pronunciation, but you have a grandchild.
Yes, my Russian Irish grandson, Bronkosmos Dimitrovich Pekinin. He's half Irish. Bron is from Brian and Connor, his uncles, and his mother is Katie Rose. And what's great is, I would hope that a young boy, 5 years old, can someday go to Ukraine and feel the peace there and visit and speak that and help rebuild it. There's my thing, and get to see the benefit of it. Learn to speak the language, learn to speak Ukrainian, learn to speak Russian, and become a person who builds peace. I have a young friend, Brian Toohey's son, Seamus, has got a doctorate degree in peace studies and conflict resolution from Georgetown University, another great Jesuit place. No offense to you,
I know.
secular priest.
Jesuits. You don't want me to talk about any of the other things that have gone wrong there, do you?
No, it's not. It's not. We don't want to bring.
Well,
You gotta accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative.
So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go to a what do you call those fairy tales? Humpty Dumpty.
Right.
Sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. So if you have experienced a break in your life, and especially if you're brokenhearted by what's going on in the world, or watching this war from, watching the news, it tears you apart when you see children suffering, and all of these people having to leave their homes, their regular life, going to the store down the street, doing all these things. The glue that puts broken things back together, for me, is God's grace. And God's grace comes from practicing your faith. It comes from being good to other people.
Right.
It comes from people like my friend here, Pritch, who are constantly trying to help others, help themselves. So it's this glue, it's God's grace that seeps into the nooks and crannies of brokenness, that helps it all become whole again.
Restores it. Right.
Restores it. So many people who have the opportunity to get better,
Right.
because I was in the hospital yesterday seeing a guy named Dan Casey, and his kids told me, go see our dad. He's dying, but he doesn't know it or he doesn't feel it. So when I go into the hospital with my black suit on and all,
Right.
and a guy is suffering, sometimes they see the priest and they go, "Oh God, this is the end for me." So
I would assume that if I saw you when I was in a... Go ahead.
so anyway, he was really grateful
Yeah.
that I was able to be there. I want to leave everybody with these lines from Godspell. I want to see God more clearly, love God more dearly, follow God more nearly. I like those lines. I wish I had written them.
Yeah.
Thanks again. We'll see you. It's the Pritch and the Padre.